Now, we are in the process of wrapping up the Bible Study Challenge. We'll be wrapping it up this month, the month of March. And then, as soon as we wrap it up, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to offer you a free college-level Bible class. You heard me right. Fundamentals of the Faith, beginning as soon as we wrap up the Bible Study Challenge, is a college-level Bible class. I think you'll really enjoy it. That's Fundamental of the Faith, starting as soon as we wrap up the Bible Study Challenge. Now, the Bible Study Challenge and Fundamentals of the Faith is now airing every morning, Monday through Saturday at 7 o'clock. So it's easy to remember. 7 o'clock is the time for right now the Bible Study Challenge, and then eventually Fundamentals of the Faith. So tune in, and I believe that will be a blessing for all. Now, we're in the book of 1 Corinthians. We've already covered keys 1 through 10. We did that in our last class. Now, today we're going to cover keys 11 through 20, and then the next day, tomorrow, we'll cover keys 21 through 30. So let's begin in key number 11. We're in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, beginning in verse 17. Key number 11 is remaining in present state. Now, as I said, if I had to do a one-sentence summary of chapter 7 of 1 Corinthians, it would be stay as you are. If you're married, stay married. If you're single, stay single. If you're a widow, stay a widow. Stay as you are. Why? Because we've got extreme persecution just around the corner. And that extreme persecution is going to test everyone's faith. And Paul is concerned that they remain faithful. So he's saying, stay as you are. Let's read. Nevertheless, each one should retain the place in life that the Lord has assigned to him, and to which God has called him. This is the rule I lay down in all the churches. Was a man already circumcised when he was called? He should not become uncircumcised. Was a man uncircumcised when he was called? He should not be circumcised. In other words, stay as you are. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing. Keeping God's command is what counts. Each one should remain in the situation in which he was when God called him. Stay as you are. And that brings us to key number 12. Key number 12 is reason for this advice. Reason for advice. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, beginning in verse 25. Now about virgins I have no command from the Lord, but I give a judgment as one who by the Lord's mercy is trustworthy. Because of the present crisis, I think that it's good for you to remain as you are. That's all the way through this book, of this chapter. Stay as you are. Are you married? Do not seek a divorce. Are you unmarried? Do not look for a wife. But if you do marry, you have not sinned. But stay as you are. If a virgin marries, she has not sinned, but those who marry will face many troubles in this life. And I want to spare you this. That's the reason why he's saying stay as you are. If you're possible for you to remain single, it's going to be easier for you. You're going to face many troubles in this life. And Paul says, I want to spare you this. Stay as you are. He'll talk about the advantages of the single life, especially considering the persecution that's coming. He will then wrap up and talk about regarding marriage and regarding widows and what they should do. And that brings us then to key number 13. Key number 13 is knowledge regarding idols. 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 4. So then, about eating food sacrificed to idols. We know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one. For even if there are so-called gods, that's gods with a little g, whether in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is but one God, one true God, the Father, through whom all things come and for whom we live. And there is but one Lord, Jesus Christ, through whom all things come and through whom we live. Now, we got a situation about those who are weak in knowledge. We don't want to offend those weak in knowledge. We want to help them to grow in the knowledge and to come to understand. But we've got a responsibility toward the weak to make sure that we don't offend them. So if there's something that I'm doing that is offensive to a weaker Christian, I'm going to stop doing it, and I'm going to start helping them to understand the more perfect way. I'm going to help them to understand what God intends. But I'm definitely not going to offend them. I'm going to do all I can not to offend. We're talking about what is proper, what is right, what we should do. And that brings us to key number 14. Key number 14 is the value of self-discipline. The value of self-discipline. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 9, beginning in verse 24. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the game goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. We practice self-discipline. We make sure that we study. We make sure that we are involved in prayer. We make sure that we are involved in service. All that helps to make us stronger. Now, Paul's going to give us examples. Examples are warnings. That's found in 1 Corinthians 10, beginning in verse 11. Examples are warnings. He says these things happen to them as examples. All the things that we look at, going back into the Old Testament, all that is examples. Now, these things happen to them as examples and were written down as warnings for us, on whom the fulfillment of the ages has come. So if you think that you're standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He'll not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when you're tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it. You see, our actions indicate how loyal we are. Who are we loyal to? To Jesus or to pleasure? To the world? To what we want? We want to be loyal to God always. Now, he'll talk about some situations that we had here in Corinth. He'll talk about veils and such like. And then he'll bring up the problem with fellowship. That's key number 16. The problem with fellowship. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, beginning in verse 17. Problem with fellowship. In the following directive, I have no praise for you, for your meetings do more harm than good. In the first place, I hear that when you come together as a church, there are divisions among you, and to some extent, I believe it. No doubt there have to be differences. There have to be differences among you to show which of you has God's approval. When you come together, is it not the Lord's Supper you eat? For as you eat, each of you goes ahead while waiting for anyone else. One remains hungry, another gets drunk. Don't you have homes to eat and drink in? Or do you despise the church of God and humiliate those who have nothing? What shall I say to you? Shall I praise you for this? Certainly not. You see, they were having common meals as they would gather together in worship. And those who had a lot of food, they were keeping it for themselves. And those who didn't have a lot of food, they were staying hungry. And Paul says that's wrong. We got a problem here. We're not sharing. You need to share. That brings us up to key number 17. The supper is a reminder of unity. The supper as a reminder of unity. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23. For I received from the Lord what I've also passed on to you. The Lord Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, took bread, and when he given thanks, he broke it and said, This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it in remembrance of me. For wherever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes. That's our unity. We are united around that wonderful table, the communion. That brings us to key number 18. Key number 18 is eating with view to unity. Eating with view to unity. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 24 or verse 27. Therefore, whoever eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be guilty of sinning against the body and blood of the Lord. A man should examine himself before he eats of the bread and drinks of the cup. For anyone who eats and drinks without recognizing the body of the Lord eats and drinks judgment on himself. We've got to eat with a view to the unity that Lord's Supper should bring us to. Now, Paul will now talk about some source of gifts, and despite the variety, the same source of those gifts is from God himself. And he'll remind them that the body has many members, and because the body has many members, all these gifts together work together for one goal, for the unity of the body. He'll say the body is diverse. That is key number 19. The body is diverse. We all have different talents, all different abilities. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 12, beginning in verse 15. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason cease to be a part of the body. If the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not be for that reason cease to be part of the body. You see, we're all different. We're all different. Just like our physical bodies have different parts, ears, eyes, mouth, hands, all those parts of the body work together. The Lord's body, the church, we should work together. And that brings us to key number 20. Key number 20 is every member important. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. I mean, you don't think about the thumb being important, but guess what? If you lose your thumb, you lose that ability to grip, because that thumb helps us to grip. Everybody is important in the sight of God. There's no big I and little you. It's everybody together for one cause. And that completes the first 20 keys of the book of 1 Corinthians. At this time, help me out. Please click on share and share now, and let's increase our audience for these classes. I would appreciate that so very much. Here at the 70 West Church of Christ, we have 4 classes for you every day, Monday through Saturday. At 7 and 9, that's a.m. and p.m. We've not forgotten our young people. We love our teenagers. We have classes for teenagers on Friday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Do you have questions for me? Bible Investigation is all about your questions and Bible answers. If you have questions, please email me at preachermichaelcox@hotmail.com. Have you downloaded my free app? I'm talking about truth.fm. Truth.fm, great Christian programming at truth.fm. Would you be interested in a free Bible correspondence course? We've got a great one. Just email us your mailing address to 70westbiblestudies@gmail.com. You want to do a little extra study? Well, we've got some wonderful free resources for you. Check out the free resources at our website. That's hotspringschurchofchrist.org. Have you received our free publication called House to House? If not, just send us your mailing address and we'll get you a free copy of House to House. Here at the 70 West Church of Christ, we have 3 worship services for you on Sunday. We have one at 7:45 for high-risk people, very safe. We have one at 10 and also one at 6. The 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock are live stream for your convenience. We also have a Wednesday evening Bible study and Devo that begins at 7. Remember, you're always a guest at the 70 West Church of Christ. Now, as we close out, it is our hope, it is our wish, it is our prayer that each one of us live for Jesus 24/7.